the problem?
Don't take this personal, but sometimes I feel you use people, Stan.
Imagine this. You're lying in a hospital bed, fighting for your life after being shot twice in a brutal robbery. You've just undergone hours of emergency surgery. The doctors aren't sure if you'll ever walk again. And then, while you're still recovering in that hospital room, you receive a script. But it's not just any script. It's your pink slip. Your character is being written off the show. You've been fired, not with a phone call, not with a face-to-face conversation, but with a script delivered to your hospital bed. This is exactly what happened to comedy legend Garrett Morris. And the person who made that decision? Martin Lawrence, the star and executive producer of the hit show, Martin. Today, we're diving deep into one of Hollywood's most shocking behind-the-scenes betrayals. And trust me, this story gets even more unbelievable when you hear what Martin allegedly said afterward. Before we get into the controversy, you need to understand who Garrett Morris is, because his legacy in entertainment runs deep. Born on February 1st, 1937 in New Orleans, Louisiana, Morris grew up in the poverty-stricken Gerttown neighborhood, raised by his grandparents after his mother was assaulted when she was just 16 years old. Despite these difficult beginnings, Morris discovered his gift for singing in the church choir and eventually trained at the prestigious Juilliard School of Music, graduating from Dillard University in 1958. Morris spent 17 years building his career in theater and music before television ever came calling. He performed with the Harry Belafonte folk singers for a decade, appeared on Broadway in productions like Hallelujah, Baby, and was even part of the civil rights movement, playing an important role in the desegregation of actors' equity. This wasn't some newcomer trying to break into the business. This was a seasoned professional who had paid his dues. Then, in 1975, at 38 years old, Morris made television history. He became the very first Black cast member of Saturday Night Live when it premiered on October 11th, 1975. He was part of the original Not Ready for Primetime players, alongside comedy legends like Chevy Chase, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, and Gilda Radner. Morris was the oldest member of that original cast, and he brought something different to the table. His characters became instant classics. Chico Escuela, the Dominican baseball player whose catchphrase, "Baseball been Barry, Barry good to me," became iconic. The News for the Hard of Hearing segments on Weekend Update, where Morris would simply shout the headlines at the top of his lungs. These weren't just funny sketches, they were cultural moments. But Morris's time on SNL wasn't without its struggles. According to the book Saturday Night: A Backstage History of Saturday Night Live, Morris was frequently unhappy during his 5-year tenure on the show. He felt typecast in stereotypical roles, and as the only Black performer in the cast, he had to constantly fight to be heard. Eddie Murphy would later acknowledge this, telling TV Guide in the early 80s that SNL producer Gian Dumanian had tried to Garrett Morris me, meaning sideline him the same way Morris had been marginalized. Morris also battled a 40-year cocaine addiction that began during his SNL days. He's spoken openly about how he was an introvert who would do the show and then go straight home while the rest of the cast went to bars and developed relationships. That isolation, combined with the drug use, made those years particularly difficult. But Morris survived. He overcame his addiction, continued working, and by the 90s, he was ready for his next big role. In 1992, Martin Lawrence's self-titled sitcom, Martin, premiered on Fox, and it was an instant hit. The show followed Martin Payne, a radio DJ and talk show host in Detroit, played by Lawrence. The cast was phenomenal. Tisha Campbell as Martin's girlfriend Gina, Tichina Arnold as Gina's best friend Pam, Carl Anthony Payne II as Martin's best friend Cole, and Thomas Mickle Ford as another friend Tommy. And then there was Garrett Morris as Stan Winters, Martin's boss at the radio station W's Up. Stan was the perfect foil for Martin's over-the-top antics. He was the straight man, the authority figure who somehow managed to keep Martin employed despite his constant shenanigans. Morris brought a gravitas and comic timing to the role that only someone with his decades of experience could deliver. For 3 years, from 1992 to 1995, Morris was a regular on the show, appearing in over 50 episodes. The character was beloved by fans, and Morris seemed to have found a comfortable home on one of the biggest sitcoms of the decade. But behind the scenes, things weren't as rosy as they appeared. According to reports from Comedy Hype and other sources, there was often tension between Morris and Lawrence during filming. The two men came from completely different generations and backgrounds. Morris was a classically trained performer who had worked in theater for decades. Lawrence was a young comedian riding the wave of his success with a hit show and growing movie career. Their working styles clashed, and that friction would eventually reach a breaking point. On February 24th, 1994, during the second season of Martin, Garrett Morris's life changed forever. He was 57 years old at the time and was visiting South Central Los Angeles to have his Cadillac detailed by a friend. After his car was dropped off, Morris decided to walk to a nearby convenience store to buy some juice. It was a routine errand, the kind of thing any of us might do on any given day. But this day would be anything but routine. As Morris walked back from the store, two men approached him demanding money. Now Morris has admitted he's always had a problem with, as he puts it, running his mouth. Instead of immediately complying, Morris sidekicked one of the assailants and put him down. He had actually run the New York City Marathon the year before in 1993, so he was in decent physical shape. But this show of defiance would have devastating consequences. The robbers, embarrassed by Morris fighting back, pulled out a handgun and shot him. Not once, but twice. Morris was hit in the chest and in the arm. According to Morris himself, the bullet ricocheted into his lumbar number 5 vertebra, and that ricochet is the only reason he survived. If the bullet had traveled just slightly differently, he would have died right there on that Los Angeles sidewalk. A friend who was nearby heard the gunshot and found Morris lying on the ground. Police arrived quickly, and Morris was rushed to Daniel Freeman Memorial Hospital in critical condition. He underwent 3 hours of emergency surgery. The doctors told him he might never walk or run again. For weeks, his condition remained serious. His wife Frida stayed by his side throughout the ordeal, refusing to let fear dictate their lives despite the violence that had nearly killed her husband. The shooting made national news. Morris was a beloved figure, a television icon, and the attack was brutal and senseless. The entertainment community rallied around him. Messages of support poured in. Everyone was praying for his recovery. But while Morris lay in that hospital bed, dealing with the physical and emotional trauma of nearly dying, something else was happening behind the scenes. This is where the story takes its most shocking turn. While Garrett Morris was hospitalized at Daniel Freeman Memorial Hospital, still recovering from multiple surgeries, he received a script. According to Morris, the script revealed that his character, Stan Winters, was selling the radio station and moving to China. Just like that. No phone call, no conversation, no visit from Martin Lawrence or any of the show's producers to explain what was happening. Just a script that made it clear his time on the show was over. In an interview with Netflix's Strong Black Lead, Morris didn't mince words about what happened. He said, and I quote, "But the man who produced Martin basically was Martin Lawrence. And after I had no bad words with him, still to this day, I do not understand why he decided to fire me while I was in Daniel Freeman Hospital." Think about that for a moment. Morris had never had a major falling out with Lawrence. There was no explosive argument, no public feud. Yes, there had been some tension during filming, but nothing that would warrant this kind of treatment. And yet, at literally the lowest point in Morris's life, when he was facing an uncertain future and didn't even know if he'd walk again, the decision was made to cut him from the show. Morris continued in that interview. Not only fired me while I was in the hospital itself, but then went around telling people in interviews that he came and sat by my bed and cried and stuff like that. The same person. Let that sink in. According to Morris, not only did Lawrence fire him while he was hospitalized, but Lawrence then allegedly told people in interviews that he had visited Morris in the hospital, sat by his bedside, and cried with him. If Morris's account is accurate, this never happened. It was a fabrication designed to make Lawrence look compassionate when, in reality, according to Morris, he had shown none. The storyline they wrote for Stan was bizarre. On screen, Stan underwent plastic surgery and became a fugitive. They even filmed one scene with Morris in his actual hospital bed, showing Stan about to undergo the plastic surgery. Then Stan just disappeared from the show. Morris did make one final appearance during the 3rd season in an episode called Sear EAM, where Stan and Martin invest in a restaurant together. But Morris was walking with a cane in that episode due to his real injuries. After that, Stan Winters vanished from Martin completely. What's remarkable about Morris's response to all of this is the grace he showed. He could have gone to the media immediately. He could have trashed Martin Lawrence publicly. He could have let bitterness consume him, but he didn't. In a 2025 interview, Morris explained his philosophy during that dark time. He said, "When I was in the hospital, I kept asking myself, am I gonna die? But then it struck me, whether you feel good about dying or bad about dying, you're going to die anyway. So make up in your mind that you're going to feel good until the very end." He went on to say, "The same thing goes for when something bad happens in your life. You need to find what best motivates you to overcome." And for me, being depressed at that time in my life, I knew depression wasn't going to do it. I knew I had been wronged, I knew I had been mistreated, and I could have done things differently, but why even bring that energy back into your space? This is a man who chose healing over hatred, who chose to move forward rather than dwell in the past. Morris admitted he still doesn't understand why Lawrence made that decision, but he refused to let it define him or destroy him. He focused on his recovery, both physical and emotional, and he kept working. Interestingly, there's a footnote to the story of the robbery itself. The man who shot Morris was eventually caught, convicted, and sent to prison. And according to Morris, while the shooter was incarcerated, other inmates who happened to be fans of Garrett Morris's work teamed up and beat up the robber in revenge. Morris shared this detail in interviews, not with glee or satisfaction, but as just another surreal element of the entire experience. Despite everything that happened, Garrett Morris refused to be counted out. Just 1 year after being fired from Martin in 1996, Morris landed another major television role. He was cast as Uncle Junior King on The Jamie Foxx Show, which ran on the WB, now the CW, from 1996 to 2001. For 5 seasons, Morris brought warmth, humor, and wisdom to the role of Jamie's uncle, the owner of a hotel where much of the show's action took place. This was a significant comeback. Morris proved that he didn't need Martin to continue having a successful career. He showed the industry, and more importantly, himself, that one person's decision to cut him loose couldn't stop him from thriving. The Jamie Foxx Show was a hit, and Morris's performance earned him a new generation of fans. Morris continued working steadily throughout the 2000s and 2010s. He had a starring role as Earl Washington on the CBS sitcom Two Broke Girls from 2011 to 2017, appearing in all 6 seasons of the show, alongside Kat Dennings, Beth Bears, and Jennifer Coolidge. He made guest appearances on shows like Scandal and This Is Us and Shameless. He appeared in films including Ant-Man in 2015, where he reprised his role from an old SNL sketch as the first live-action incarnation of the Marvel character. Throughout all of this work, Morris maintained his professionalism and his dignity. He didn't badmouth Martin Lawrence publicly for years. It wasn't until that 2019 interview with Netflix's Strong Black lead that he finally opened up about what had happened, and even then, he spoke with sadness and confusion rather than anger. On February 1st, 2024, Garrett Morris's 87th birthday, he received one of the highest honors in the entertainment industry. He was awarded his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the 2,771st star since the Walk of Fame's completion in 1961. The ceremony took place at 6411 Hollywood Boulevard, and it was a moment decades in the making. The event was attended by many of Morris's former colleagues and friends. Tisha Campbell was there, his former co-star from Martin, and she even sang Happy Birthday to celebrate Morris turning 87. Jennifer Coolidge, his co-star from Two Broke Girls, spoke at the ceremony. Prominent comedians like Steve Harvey and Tracy Morgan showed up too. Honor the legend. Carl Anthony Payne II and other Martin cast members were present to support him, but one person was noticeably absent: Martin Lawrence. Lawrence did not attend the ceremony, and his absence did not go unnoticed. Fans on social media immediately pointed out that Lawrence was missing from what should have been a celebration that included everyone from Morris's long career. Some speculated that the tension from their Martin days still lingered. Others suggested that Lawrence simply couldn't make it for scheduling reasons. But given the history between the two men, many saw the absence as telling. What's remarkable is that despite everything that had happened, despite the betrayal and the years of silence, Morris acknowledged Martin Lawrence positively during his acceptance speech. He mentioned Lawrence as one of the best comedians in the business. showing that even after all these years, Morris harbored no public ill will. This is the mark of a true professional and a man of remarkable character. At the ceremony, Morris joked that he was glad the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce hadn't performed a background check on him before deciding to award him a star. He also noted, with a laugh, that his star was located near what used to be his favorite porno shop, which is now a souvenir store. Even at 87, recovering from years of physical challenges related to the shooting and the natural effects of aging, Morris maintained his sense of humor and his humility. So what do we take away from Garrett Morris's story? There are several powerful lessons here that go beyond just Hollywood drama. First, this story highlights something we don't talk about enough: how the entertainment industry treats its veterans. Garrett Morris wasn't some bit player. He was a founding member of Saturday Night Live, a classically trained performer with decades of experience, and a beloved character actor. And yet, when he was at his most vulnerable, he was discarded, without ceremony or compassion. This raises uncomfortable questions about how we value people in the industry once they're no longer at the peak of their commercial viability. Second, Morris's story is a masterclass in resilience and grace. He had every right to be bitter, to spend years in anger and resentment. He was nearly killed, then fired from his job while recovering from that near-death experience. But instead of letting that bitterness consume him, he chose to heal, to move forward, and to keep working. He didn't let Martin Lawrence's decision define him or limit his future. That takes incredible strength. Third, Morris's experience reminds us that how we treat people matters, especially when they're at their lowest. Lawrence was in a position of power as the star and executive producer of Martin. He could have handled Morris's departure differently. He could have waited until Morris recovered to have a conversation. He could have been honest about whatever creative differences existed. Instead, according to Morris, he chose the coldest possible method: a script delivered to a hospital bed, followed by allegedly false claims of compassion. There's also something to be said about Morris's decision to finally speak his truth in that 2019 interview. For years, he said nothing publicly about what happened. He took the high road, but eventually, he decided that his story deserved to be told. He did it without unnecessary vitriol, without exaggeration, just stating the facts as he experienced them. That kind of honest accounting, years after the fact, can be incredibly powerful and cathartic. As of 2025, Garrett Morris is 87 years old and still working. He's currently writing an autobiography where he plans to tell his full story, including his 40-year battle with cocaine addiction, his experiences as the first Black SNL cast member, the shooting, and yes, what happened with Martin Lawrence. He owns and operates the LA Blues and Comedy Club in Los Angeles, continuing to contribute to the comedy community that gave him so much. His legacy is secure. He was inducted into the Television Academy Hall of Fame in 2017 as part of the original SNL cast. He has that star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and most importantly, he has the respect of his peers and the love of fans who remember his groundbreaking work. Despite the challenges, despite the betrayals, despite nearly losing his life, Garrett Morris won. He survived, he thrived, and he maintained his dignity every step of the way. Martin Lawrence, for his part, has never publicly responded to Morris's claims about being fired from the hospital bed or about the allegedly false statements regarding hospital visits. Lawrence has continued his successful career with movie franchises like Bad Boys and remains one of the most recognizable comedians in the world. Whether he and Morris will ever have a public reconciliation remains to be seen. Given that Lawrence didn't attend Morris's Walk of Fame ceremony, it seems unlikely. Garrett Morris's story is ultimately one of triumph over adversity, but it's also a cautionary tale about power, loyalty, and how we treat people when they're vulnerable. It's about an industry that can be cruel and unforgiving, even to its legends. But more than anything, it's about a man who refused to let the worst moments of his life define him. When Morris lay in that hospital bed in 1994, facing an uncertain future, he made a choice. He chose life. He chose to keep going. He chose to focus on what he could control rather than dwelling on what had been taken from him. And that choice made all the difference. So here's my question for you. What do you think about what happened between Garrett Morris and Martin Lawrence? Was Lawrence's decision justified for creative reasons we don't fully understand? Or was this a cold betrayal of a colleague at his lowest point? Should Martin have attended the Walk of Fame ceremony? And bigger picture, What responsibility do we have to treat people with compassion, especially when they're vulnerable, even in a cutthroat business like entertainment? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you learned something new about Garrett Morris today, if this story moved you or made you think differently about how we treat people in this industry and in life, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the untold stories behind your favorite shows and performers. Remember Garrett Morris's words, "I knew I had been wronged, I knew I had been mistreated, and I could have done things differently, but why even bring that energy back into your space?" That's wisdom we could all use. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.